since day one and has been a big part of our growth and the push to become one of the top resources along with Dave in the industry. So we learned from you, Dave. So welcome to the show, Dave.
Hey, it's good to be here. We all learn from each other, man. That's what makes masterminding so magic. You know, it's collaborating with people that are growth minded and want to win.
Yeah, I mean, how far do we go back, Dave? I know it's well over 2 decades.
Yeah, over 2 decades. I mean, I don't know. I lose track after 20 years.
You're much
did
younger
we meet
then.
28 years ago, or did we meet 23 years ago? I'm not sure.
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
it's a long time to be in the business together, but very fortunate to have you as not just a mentor, but more than anything, just one of my biggest bros in the industry. I mean, 2 of my best bros are right here, side by side. I got, my business partner, Gino Franti, and Dave Savage, 2 of my biggest bros in this industry. So thank you for joining us again, Dave.
Yeah, no, it's really, really good to be here. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
And Dave, one thing that I've noticed over the years with you is that you've been so much more public, so much more out there, so much more of a part of everybody's day-to-day life instead of just being in the background running a software company. You've actually become like someone we rely on for information on a daily and weekly basis to make sure that we're doing the things to help us succeed, because you've really taken that forefront and said, I'm going to carry the torch so that you guys can all win.
I've tried. Yeah, no, I've learned to love that. I mean, early on when I started the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, it was coming out of the meltdown, and there was very little leadership. So no one was doing sales meetings because there wasn't a lot of positive things to talk about. But we at Mortgage Coach, we had built up a community of some of the most successful loan officers in America that, always believed in winning with advice. And I really felt like the way that I could help my business, and it really was a business strategy, was like, hey, let's interview this top producer. And back then I just had one goal, to have the most valuable sales meeting in the mortgage industry every week. So it was all built around, it's a sales meeting, leveraging, I don't even think social media was a thing. I mean, it was a thing because obviously we put it on YouTube, and YouTube is social media, but I really started using YouTube just because it was it was free, and I could distribute videos, upload them for free, distribute them for free. Like, it was as simple as that. But obviously YouTube's become a big deal in the world at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think about all the times that you had, Don on as a guest or myself on as a guest, and we would talk about ways to use Mortgage Coach. And for me, as an originator, when I learned from Jeremy Forcier and the things I learned from Scott Nichols, all those tools, like, a lot of us have tools, but we don't know how to use them. And I think what those calls have done for us over the years, Dave, was say, here's a tool, and here's how a top producer is using it. Someone in the streets, just like you, winning by using this tool every day.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Well, like Gino's alluding to, Dave, and I watch your calls on a regular basis. I love that you push it out, so it's right there in front of us. We just hit play, which is beautiful. But the key thing that, Dave, you and I are junkies. We've been part of thousands of events, lots of great speakers. The one thing I've learned, though, over time, and what we're trying to implement, and you're doing a great job of implementing, Dave, is, like Gino said, is how to actually implement. You could read a book and says you should do this, you should do that. But when you speak to somebody who's actually applying it and explaining how they apply it, meaning it's almost like a real life example. It'd be like telling somebody, hey, you should have your 5 core values written down. And what's
Right.
your unique value proposition? You're like, I don't know. But if somebody goes, here's my 5 that I've learned that's really helped our group or our company or our team, and here's our value, our unique value proposition. It allows somebody to visually and mentally go, oh, now I understand what you mean, and I can apply it. I'll just tweak it to my own personality or my own business model. And that's helping myself, it's helping Gino, and I hope it's helping our community. And Dave, you've done a great job of that more than ever this last few years, as Gino's alluding to, is that you're bringing these people that are actually implementing. Big difference from
I'm trying to, I mean, that's the goal, is let's find people that are having really great business results. I interviewed Shant Banosian on Friday, #1 loan officer in America, and really, I just asked them what's working now, and we spent an hour talking about what's working now for him. Now he's an extreme example of someone that is at the apex of success, but I try to interview people at different ranges of success. $100 million producers, $50 million producers. Also new loan officers that just had their first month where they closed 10 loans. But that's the model.
Well, it's helping because, like you said, you grab little nuggets from everyone. I know, for example, we have Sean Herrero that you've, been in touch with.
I've interviewed Sean
a
bunch of times.
Sean, yeah. I mean,
what's up, Sean? I see that you're here. Yeah. And by the way, guys, I want to remind everybody, this is a mastermind. I've got some ideas to share, but it always works best when people are asking questions, making comments. Craig Davis, what's up, brother? Be sure to use those little reactions down below. So if we say something you like, use the little reactions, and then
there you go.
Yep, there's a thumbs up. Thank you for all the thumbs ups.
Yeah.
Feels like we're not talking to ourselves. And then please, use chat. So we've already had some pretty rad loan officers that are among the best in the country. Sean is just an extraordinary example of what a modern mortgage professional does. So it's good to have you here, bro.
Yeah. And I love that Sean shared something unique and he exposed himself is that he had to reinvent himself and recreate and rebuild and rebuild to $100 million producer again. And that's refreshing to hear in this market, wouldn't you say, Dave?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, well, first of all, in this market, everybody needs to rebuild. I mean, this is not just another year in mortgage. There's some very, seismic changes in the marketplace. And I do think the fact that 63% of mortgages in America are at 2 and 3%, and then 80% are under 4%. I don't think that gets enough attention. I've said it from stage almost every time I've been on a stage, but you're starting to see it. There was an article in Fortune magazine a month ago. There was an article last week in the Wall Street Journal. And these are not these are legit articles breaking down what does this mean in America? What is the struggle? And no realtor has ever, dealt with this. Sean Herrero, if anyone's following him, he's really, focusing hard on getting realtors to do a bunch of CMAs and doing I don't know, what is it, once a week you're getting on a call and you're masterminding with realtors on the CMA challenge. I don't remember exactly how many CMAs it is a week. I think it's 1 a day, 5 a week, Sean. Maybe if you could put that in chat below. But I mean, that's a big deal. Yeah, CMA a day challenge, they call it. And then guys, help realtors get into these CMAs, and then talk to realtors around how you can help them convert those people at 2 and 3%. And of course, Mortgage Coach is a great solution to help you help a household hostage get freed, or an accidental landlord, to rent out their home and move up into a bigger home. You need to have those conversations in this market.
Dave, you're speaking my love language, man. This is what I've been talking about for the last few weeks, is we have to help realtors do their job right now.
Boom.
They're lost. This is different than anything they've ever encountered. And we have to help them do their job, because quite frankly, if you were to look at the disc profile of most real estate agents, they're very high I on their disc profile. Their job is to be pleasing to people. They want to make sure they make people happy. They want to make sure that people like them. Well, what about getting the job done? And so that's why you have a very small, select few realtors that are incredibly successful, because they've got enough D in them to drive the business and to be bold with their clients and tell them why they should do this. But most people are a little fearful and they just want to be like, hi, do you want to buy your house? Do you want to sell your house? No, you need to approach them and say, hey, I think you should sell your house, and here's why. I have 3 pre-qualified buyers that would want to buy a house like yours. And the last time I talked to you, you said that you have 2 of your kids bunking in one of the rooms. Don't you want to get an individual room for each one of them now that they're 7 and 9? I mean, now what I'm saying here requires that you know your client. It requires that you have a relationship with them and you know what their needs are. And so if the real estate community is not willing to do that, we need to do that for them to create the opportunities so that we succeed.
Yeah, no doubt. And by the way, on that note, in terms of talking about realtors, I interviewed Brian Hale a couple days ago. Y'all know who Brian Hale is?
Heard of him, but don't know his
Yeah,
stats.
well, he was the head of production for Countrywide back in the days, and he became the CEO of Stearns and the CEO of a number of other top companies. And today he's involved in M&A and has his hands on helping a bunch of lenders gain market share and navigate these stormy waters. And anyways, he said 2 things that I want to share right now that I think are really, really powerful. One, he shared a stat, and I knew that, like, I don't know if it was like 7% of realtors are doing 90% of the business, but he shared a stat that 2% of real estate agents are doing 70% of the transactions.
Whoa.
We were
That's
just
like-
talking about that yesterday, Gino, weren't we?
And-
we were saying
yeah.
the old 80-20 is gone now. It's
Oh yeah,
like,
the 80-20 rule is old school.
We were saying 95-5. So
yeah, no, well, that was exactly what I was going to say. Like, the takeaway for everyone on this call is the 80-20 rule is old school. And technology has and guys like Sean, people that use tech, people that are good leaders, they're scaling, they're doing more business. And in real estate, it's 2% are doing 70%. Now in mortgage, it's not that exaggerated, but it's not 80-20 anymore. It's 10-90, and in real estate, it's 5. So a couple action items. One, anyone listening to this, we really need to audit the realtors that we're targeting. Obviously you don't want to target people really in the bottom 50 to 70%. You want to target people, not everybody you want to target is a 2%er, but everybody you should be targeting should be 10%ers, or else you're spending a lot of time and relationship building time on people that, even if they love you, like you, and give you every home buyer and every referral they have, it's not a lot of referrals. So I think that's important to note. And then another thing that Brian said, I'm actually going to show a slide because it was just so powerful. So first of all, Brian is not known for being an optimist. He's always really practical, and whatever the worst case scenario is, Brian Hale is always going to be talking about that. But this was a quote from my interview. Oh, by the way, I can't share my screen, guys. I don't know if someone can give me that permission.
no, you can do that.
You can.
You should be able to.
I'll try it one more time. No, you cannot start screen while other participants are sharing.
I'm sharing my computer audio for that music. I stopped it.
go.
You can try again.
Okay,
Oh, no,
Also,
there we
that
go.
makes sense. We're still learning as we keep adding little fun gadgets. We're adding music now, and now we know to turn it off.
Yeah, no worries. So Brian Hale, within this interview, this is an exact quote: the next 5 to 10 years are going to be stupendously good, and his thesis for that was demographics. This is actually a slide that he shared with me. But guys, look at this tsunami of Gen Z plus millennials plus half of Gen X is 2.5 times the boomers. So there's just a tsunami of home buyers coming into the markets, and demographics are everything. So sooner or later, it's going to hit. And to me, that's a really keep, like when we're masterminding, every originator needs to be building a mortgage practice so that first-time home buyers in this demographic is you're going to win with them. And then to me, the other core trend is this right now. Like you also need to build conversations, stories, strategies around how you help accidental landlords be very successful accidental landlords, and people that can't afford to like keep their house rented out and buy a new house. You're able to get them clarity, so they're like, you know what, I'm going to move up because when you look at the appreciation, one, I want to move up because I want a nicer house for lifestyle reasons. I can financially move up if I sell my home, but I'm going to give up that 3% rate because I'm going to build wealth over time more. And they're working with a loan officer that can say, hey, you can buy your move up home and then you can refinance it, marry your move up home, date the rate and refinance it when rates go into the fours. And if you can't win in these two, market categories, like this category and this category, like it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
You've got my wheels turning right on the accidental landlord thing. And I probably know more about taxes than I should for a person who doesn't do taxes for people. And so this is not tax advice, but you can reach out to people that have become accidental landlords and say, how long ago did you rent that property? Oh, I rented it a year ago. Well, it used to be your primary residence. You should talk to your CPA, because if you haven't lived in it for more than 2 of the last 5 years, you may lose your capital gains exemption. And you had $300,000 of gains that might become taxable that could cost you $100,000. You're only making $500 a month on this rental. How much longer are you going to have to hold it and manage it for that $500 a month to add up to the $100,000 that you're going to lose in taxation? Let's put this house on the market and make sure you get your capital gains exemption. That's a great conversation to have with somebody, and you are protecting their household.
Yeah, totally agree. So real quick, community, what are your thoughts on this? Like anybody want to put something in comments, share a thought? What are your thoughts on these two focuses?
We got some sharp people on the call here that I'm sure has some questions on this. I mean, you got Donnie Tuttle, Jimmy, called Tony out. There's quite a few people, Shelley, and who's got a question for Dave regarding this?
We mentioned Sean's name a little bit. Sean, do you want to jump on with us? Let's just promote you on. You available?
Yeah, well, we're seeing if we could get Sean on. I want to show you a TCA that I got a couple days ago. Walt Schultz, who is actually, I think he's kind of the captain of this CMA a day challenge that Sean is also involved in. And this, by the way, this came up with Shant. I want to make sure I share what Shant's top idea was before we run out of time. But he's doing Realtor Masterminds, and then I do think the CMA a day mastermind is good. But one of the lessons to share at that CMA a day is like a move up analysis. Like, hey, here's your current home, and let's say they've got a great rate of 3.5. What does that look like? Here's your move up home. Obviously, the rate's a lot higher right now, but show that over time, and then show them, hey, marry that house and look what your loan could become. And then one of the things that Walt did in this is he's showing the net worth over time if they were to rent out the house and keep it. So you can see in this case, the net worth would be millions of dollars in increased net worth over 30 years if this family was to, I could rent out my home. Yeah, I know rates are really high, but when you look at the net worth over time, and you could do this over 7 years, you could do this over 15 years. Right now, Walt is just playing with this, but guys, this is the type of thing that loan officers need to be doing in today's marketplace.
Yeah, and if you look at that particular sample that you had on the screen right there, they didn't even use all the equity from the sale of the property as a down payment on the secondary.
Well, remember, they didn't sell it; they rented out the house, like in this scenario.
Got it.
Yeah, by the way, I'll share a link to this because for those of you that are mortgage coaches on this call, I think this is a hot strategy. And, and it's kind of like the seller buy down. Like there's not that many people that actually do a seller buy down, but it's a great conversation to have. When you have the seller buy down strategy conversation with a real estate agent, it's a really quality conversation to have. So to be having the accidental landlord conversation where you bring them the data, hey, here's a Fortune. And by the way, there's a Fortune magazine article on it. I'll put a link to that in chat, but you're like, hey, did you know, to the realtor? And then let me show you how I can help you sell, get more listings and sell more homes. Huge, 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 huge idea.
Hey,
Donnie
I was going to say Donnie
Go
Tuttle
ahead.
is actually a really good rule follower. So he actually used the Q&A section. So one of his questions was, how would you use the, let's go with the second one here. How should we adjust our marketing, showing up as the expert for Gen Y and Z, because I think we kind of talked about millennials for so many years. And I think millennials are just now not necessarily, like an average millennial is 42 years old now. So it's not like they're kids anymore. There is this whole other opportunity with 20-year-olds and 28-year-olds that have great jobs and they're starting their lives and they're about to have their first child. How do we reach them? And I don't think it's dancing silly on TikTok. So,
well, time out. By the way,
maybe it is.
Yeah. Well, I've done a lot of interviews on this. In fact, I'm interviewing a Gen Zer later on this afternoon around this. But a couple things that are truths that Gen Z is not getting their answers on Google. They are doing searches on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. They are, at least that's what I'm hearing from them so far. So now, is it a dancing, there's edutainment, like there needs to be an entertainment level of it. I interviewed Mark Bowie a couple days ago. He's got 73 followers on Instagram. By the way, that's getting shared into our YouTube channel. Like it actually might be there right now. Let me see if he's in here. But he's like a perfect example of, no, he's not dancing, but here, I'll share my screen real quick, just so you guys can see this. And we might even, okay, I'm going to go to this. In the interview, he shared multiple social media pieces. So I'm just going to play this for like a second so you get a vibe on it.
Few reels that just popped and went viral and it just exploded the account over time. But
hang on. Well, we'll save that for another call, but tell us what we're looking at here.
Cool, man. So this here, let me see if I can share my audio with you guys. One sec.
Well, it's kind of clunky for me to share this right now, but I would tell you, to get to Gen Z, they like video, they like technology, they expect a platform experience like Mortgage Coach, and they're doing search on social media more than ever. At least that's what I'm hearing so far.
Yeah, I think the content is there. I think what's difficult is amongst the noise on social media, how do you stand out as the expert without being boring? So you touched on the word edutainment. And that's really something that I think all of us that have been in media for the last few years have been trying to achieve. Like, how do we deliver, even this platform, how do we deliver a great message that helps people be more successful and then have a pretty good time doing it instead of us having to read a book or do a workshop or having to fill out a bunch of forms? It's how do I stimulate somebody to do something cool today and then have success with it and then replicate it and do it over and over again using the tools that we have available with video. And for me, one of the most powerful things is, and I know Don uses it more than I do, but when you added the video feature to Mortgage Coach, that was game changer. That was
it increased my conversion probably by, I think I told you, Dave, by about 50% at least, because of the video, especially if you are sincere and practice your message. It was so different from, and I always told my guys, I'm like, dude, can you imagine you send out your LE and I sent a video Hey, Mike and Tammy, very nice to meet you. Don Getling here with PRMG Mortgage. So excited to help you with your new home. And you're working with Mary Thompson at Realty Executives. She is the best. So your team is solid. And I'm going to make sure you understand every single option that's available. No surprises. And we're going to make this a great experience for you. Looking forward to meeting you soon. Check out this info. And I always tell them there's 4 pages. Don't get overwhelmed by this. This is just making sure you have all the information you need to make an educated decision and feel good about it. And I'm going to walk you through it. I mean, you do that versus here's your LE. I have people walk in my office to meet me for our first interviews, and they give me a hug. Hey, Don, like they know me based on the video that I sent out with the great information from Mortgage Coaches. You know, somewhere in my shirt, Dave.
I did not catch that, brother.
Look at that. I don't have a trust engine one yet, but I do have my Mortgage Coach shirt on because I'm a big fan.
I need to
Paul, let's make sure we get trust engine shirts out to these guys. Paul's on my team here, but there's a thumbs up. You got some shirts coming, guys.
Oh, cool. And you know,
and make sure guys remember, firsthomiq.com is up now. And that's a new nonprofit that I launched with Kristen Messerly and Todd Bookspan. We'll have our official launch of that nonprofit next month. But we are creating content to inspire and educate the next generation. So that is what First Home IQ is all about, is how do we reverse the trend of the next generation buying older? They're older and older and older. They're waiting longer and longer. Yes. How do we turn that around? So for Donnie, your question, I know I gave some answers that are legit just now, but I will tell you, between what I'm doing at First Home IQ and the interviews I'm doing, like for example, today, this afternoon, it will be live in our Facebook group. I'm going to be interviewing Ali Carty. I don't know if you guys have followed her. She's got 42,000 followers, and she is a first-time homebuyer advocate. And I'm going to be interviewing her on what does Gen Z want. So check that out. That'll be this afternoon in our group. That'll be on our YouTube channel this afternoon. And I'll have more answers for you soon, Donnie.
So Dave, on that note, if you wouldn't mind, I would love to be a part of what you're doing there with First Home IQ, because I bought my first home when I was 22 years old.
Boom.
And I think not a lot of people understand the power, people, you learn about economics, you learn about the time value of money as it relates to saving cash, but people don't talk about the time value of real estate investment. And it works exactly the same way. The earlier you get in, the more it compounds over time. And so for me, I'm super passionate about getting people in as early as possible. And, for me in particular, it was a 3-unit property. So even better, right?
Well, and that's what we're really, really pushing. So, here, 2 ways to get in on the game right now early is, one, you could just, put in your email address and we'll email you as we launch it and keep you updated on the journey and what's available. 2, you can buy an expensive shirt. All the proceeds go to the nonprofit. It is a real nonprofit. They are very expensive shirts. We're only going to sell 100 of these founder friend shirts, and we've already sold 20-ish. But there'll never be more. Like, we're doing this one time as a fundraiser, and we figure it'll take us all year to sell these. But that group will have a little extra access. Obviously, you can donate money any way you want. Once we roll this out, one of the number one fundraising strategies we have is that loan officers, and we've already had, Denise Donahue has already agreed to be one of our first ambassadors. And our ambassador program is going to be $100 a file donated to First Home IQ, where they're donating to the cause, and then they're getting access to content that will help them go out to schools and partner with realtors and do first, here's how to house hack, buy a duplex, triplex, or buy a 3-bedroom house and rent out a bedroom, or buy a 2-bedroom house and Airbnb it. Here's how you could do that. For the kids that have parents that can help them, here's a pitch deck to get your family to help you buy the next house. For those of you that don't have, for the kids that don't have family that can help, they might even have no one in their home or no one in their family may have never even owned a home before. We're going to be like, hey, here's how to get down payment assistance programs, and here's how to, get it done yourself, whether or not you have anyone that's going to help you do it. There's never been more community resources available. A lot of people don't realize that there's down payment assistance programs for duplexes and triplexes, and most people don't know that.
Yeah, it's a great thing. I'm telling you, the multi-unit situation is amazing. But even if it's not a multi-unit situation, listen, I think I lived with like 9 people when I was 18 years old. Buy a single family residence and rent all the rooms, double-decker couches in the rooms, just like the Lego movie, and then rent the couch. Like, that's how people live when they're young. So don't be, especially now that people are getting used to this co-living idea again. I don't know if you've seen what they're doing in LA, but they're turning like office into co-living spaces. So right now, be the person that's the axis of that, buy a home, take the risk, and be the beneficiary over time.
Bring it. So, hey, before we're out of time, I want to make sure what Shant Banosian shared. He had 2 things that I thought were just super important that I want to share today. And just a reminder, Shant's #1 loan officer in America. For all you that have MMI, you could go and click on, who are the top loan officers in America. It's #1 from a data perspective. And I asked him, what's working? What are you doing? And so #1 realtor in America, first of all, said, in my entire career in mortgage, I've never met face-to-face, in person, had more conversations with realtors in a single year than I already have this year. So one thing he's doing, he's working his ass off. He's getting meetings with realtors, he's getting face-to-face with realtors, and he's having conversations with realtors. And he's never had more realtor conversations in a year. And we were only 5 months into the year, and he's already beat every year in his entire history. So that's one thing. I said, well, how are you doing it? Like, what, walk me through that. And he's like, my #1 strategy is lunch masterminds. Only 90 minutes. I'm providing lunch. I'm inviting between 6 and 12 realtors, and I'm hosting and facilitating a conversation, with these realtors. And then he's coming in with a few little micro lessons. We talked, like, one of those micro lessons might be, hey, how to help sell a listing with buy downs. One of those might be how to create urgency with the first time home buyer, powered by rent versus own. One of them might be how to free a household hostage. But for the most part, I said, well, what's to talk? And he goes, I'm pretty much just having them all introduce themselves. So there's a connection for 10-ish, 15-ish minutes. Everybody knows who's who. And then we're just talking about, like, what are you seeing out there and what's working best right now? So guys, super simple, 90-minute realtor lunch masterminds. That's what the #1 loan officer in America is doing. And I would try to make sure that the people you're inviting to those masterminds, they may not all be 2%ers, but they should probably be 10 to 20 percenters. They should be doing production. What do you guys think of that idea?
I hope everybody's listening to you on this, Dave. It's really easy. And I'm going to say, I hope you're all listening to what Dave just said, because Gina and I lead a team, as you know, and our goal is to help our team grow their business. And it's hard right now, as you know, because there's only so much business out there. And I love what you said, Dave, because I feel right now our #1 strategy, and you're talking to a guy that does more loans than anyone in the nation. So you would think he doesn't have to go talk to agents. He's got business rolling in. He's even going out and being face-to-face in front of agents. So our #1 thing for our team has been lunch and learns, the adding value. And coincidentally, Dave, I had this shirt on. I washed it in between. I had the same shirt on Monday.
That's right.
With our real estate agents, with about 30 real estate agents, utilizing Mortgage Coach as a tool to help them get people off the fence. because right now it's just going to seem like they're trying to convince them for a commission versus educating on why they need to buy their first home or buy their next home or consolidate their debt. And we use the mortgage coach tool to say, hey, this will help you so it doesn't look like you're just selling. You just show the numbers. The numbers don't lie. You're doing them a favor, and you need to come at them that way, that you're doing them a service. You're adding value. You're helping them with their financial future. You're not trying to sell anything. It's look at the numbers. We show the rent versus own and the net payment versus the actual payment and rent going up over time. I go, it's just a no-brainer. Actually, the numbers sell themselves. They almost feel stupid by not taking action because the numbers are pretty obvious. And we just did that. And I agree with you, Dave, that right now, adding education and information so they can do their job better, as Gino said at the very beginning of this, we have to help them do their job. And thank you for backing up what we feel is the most important thing.
Yeah, we just literally did that spot on, just did that Monday, and we've been doing that for the last few weeks. And I'll tell you what, they are hungry for that information. These real estate agents are hungry for that information. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say why. I think that the old real estate broker, the one who was also an educator of their team and the mentor of their team and the sales manager of their team, has become a little detached from that. Right, they're kind of stuck more in the office doing the litigation and all the paperwork that needs to be done to be able to support a brokerage office, and not all the offices have enough scale to have a great sales manager. So, because some of these real estate offices don't have great sales managers, that's where we can step in and fill that void.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And another important, there were really three. There were more than three things, but there were three things that I just think have been essential that every loan officer should do in America, every leader of loan officers should do, and that came from Shant. And one was call and have meetings with top realtors. Two, mastermind. And to me, the value of the masterminding is not only are you getting these high producing, potential valuable customers into relationship with you, you're learning. First of all, that's an activity that is going to improve your confidence. It's going to make you better. The better you can be, the smarter you can be. To me, this is an activity that it's got a good defensive strategy and it's got a great offensive strategy. And you're just going to be more confident and more positive if you do it. Number three thing from Shant Banosian is he talked about how one of the things he's bringing to these realtors is elevating mindset. He's like, I've been working, he goes, I've never worked harder on my own mindset. And obviously part of that has to do with, how you start your day and everything everybody's ever heard. And I'm not going to minimize that. I'm just not going to cover that right now because everybody knows how they should be starting their day, getting your sleep, working out. I'm not going to get into that. But he shared a book that the way he shared this book, I literally bought it while I multitask and bought it while he was sharing
favorite book right
My
now.
favorite book right now.
Right,
I just
bro?
finished. I love that book. It's
bro,
changed.
it's my, I know. Shant mentioned it on Friday. I bought it while we were talking.
Same guy who did this.
Yeah. I bought it while he was talking. I listened to about an hour of it at the end of the day on Friday. I finished it over the weekend and I'm like, holy shit. Game changer. Absolutely.
Because you and I are students of the game, and I don't mean to cut you out today. I am excited, obviously, because it looks at things a little differently than we've been trained over all these years with this whole gap gain thing between, I love the mindset piece. Actually, I'm not going to steal your thunder. I'll let you go.
Well, no, I think I don't want to try to sell the book or describe
there's
the book.
Just two big things that were different than what we've been trained.
Yeah,
There's nothing bad that happens. It's either it happened good for you or you learn from it.
Yeah. But anyways, I would just push people to buy this book. By the way, I haven't said it out loud. I just showed it on my screen. It's called The Gap and the Gain. And at the end of the day, it's so simple, it's ridiculous. And the formula is proven. And I've been implementing it. And I'm a pretty positive dude with a pretty damn good mindset. But this helped me. This helped elevate me. And I think it will also help. I'm going to, try to get as many people at our company to read it and go through it. And I would just say mindset's never been more important. And it's also never been harder to have the right mindset to win for both realtors and loan officers. So let's put mindset first. And if we put our mindset first and we put intention around that, we put habits around that, the business tactics, every borrower gets a total cost analysis, easy. Monitoring your database with Sales Boomerang, and making sure you call on the alerts. That's easy if you're in the right mindset. Using tools like HomeBot have never been more important. Getting, people into platforms, never been more important. But if you don't have the right mindset, you don't do the right things.
So you're touching on something that I think is super interesting, right? Because, and this is what I think Momentum Builder does, and I think what Don and I are trying to achieve with this community as well, is how do we take all these little pieces, right? The morning disciplines, the savers, all the books and the training and the tools and the business planning and the high sales trust conversation, and you add all these 5,000 things together. How do I put that into my day? And then once I build my perfect day, how do I make sure that I execute repeatedly? And I just saw that I think Mike Tyson said that discipline is doing the things you hate to do as if you love them. And so I think that's a mindset thing, right? Just you wake up in the morning and say, I love going to the gym. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but you got to say that anyway. Get out there, do it, and you'll feel better that you did. And then take the next step. So there's got to be like some non-negotiables that you should build your day. I must do these 6 things this day. I must do these 12 things this week. I must do these 25 things this month. And if you could do those few things and check all the boxes, then I think you'll be successful.
Yeah. Well, yes, but easier said than done, bro.
I know.
And we've all heard that 100 times. So I'm not saying it's not worth saying it another 100 times, but I don't know. I think right now, if people can focus on positivity, cut out news, focus on optimism. I love Brian Hale's quote, and that's the other thing. I think one of the things I loved about the gap versus the gain is this comparison that we all play, because 2021 and 2022 were record-breaking years. And I still hear people comparing, their production. Like, guys, by the way, that's gap thinking. You're in the gap when you're like, oh, I used to do $200 million of business. You got to get in the game. And the gain is, how are you doing this month versus last month? And hopefully it's better. The gain is, what new skills have you learned? Have you gotten better, knowing that the 2 biggest trends, the biggest mega trends in mortgage right now are first-time home buyers. Are you designing an experience in a platform that's attractive and converts them? And then number 2, realtors need listings. Are you developing the skills to help realtors convert listings? By the way, another interview I want to showcase real quick. Tim Brahim created a video for the mortgage coach community, and he leveraged Socia Vila, so a grandmaster mortgage coach, and it's how to help listing agents get listings. And so I would just push everybody, like, what are you doing? What skills do you have? And how are you helping folks get listings? What is your strategy? So I'm going to put a link to this. Here's what it is right here. It's called Tim Brahim's.
With Monday Sales CRM, I can.
Oops. I hate these little commercials,
Right.
Yeah, I thought when I paid for YouTube Premium, they would go away, but they didn't.
Yeah, and sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
But Tim literally walks through some strategies. He uses an example from a top performing mortgage professional, Socia Vela, and what are you doing to improve your skills at those megatrends? Now, by the way, if you're doing that, you're in the game. You're going to be proud of yourself.
I love how I was hoping you were going to kind of head there, Dave, because that's what's really needed right now, because right now we had to change the game. Obviously, it's changed on us. We've been through a few cycles. That's why, Gino's like, oh, here we go again. I'm like, I'm actually excited about this, because each time I go through the cycle, I'm only stronger, better, smarter with better people. So I do much better on the other side of leveraging the good times each time. And I enjoy it that much more. And I'm that much more appreciative of it.
But Don, we don't have the fear we used to.
That's because we've gotten through these things. Yes. And we're trying to relay that to, our team, Dave, of course. But one of the things that I like that you were mentioning about the gap and gain is the same thing. Something different that I liked is we're trying to teach our team, because everybody now has to go back to some basics. They have to go back to making calls. They have to go back to setting up meetings with agents, doing lunch and learns and stuff like that. And they stopped. Obviously, almost every single person in our industry stopped for COVID reasons, but then because we're all too busy, so they didn't get back at it. So we have to go back to some of the basics, and it's hard. But I love that the gap gain thing that he teaches, your goal is, let's see, I talk to our team and they say, I'm gonna meet with 5 agents a week, and I'm gonna make 40 calls, a day, and I'm gonna do all these things. And after a month or 2 months, they're like, I'm not hitting near my goals. The gap gain, I love that they go back and go, yeah, but 2 months ago, you didn't make any calls. 2 months ago, you didn't have any meetings. 2 months ago, you didn't have any as many pre-approvals. Let's move forward to how you're advancing. Now you've got at least 3 meetings a week. Next week, you said you'll have 5. Now you're making 10 calls a day. And now you have 20 applications coming in a week versus 2 before. So you are gaining. You may not hit those illustrious goals, but your activities are better. So I love in the gap gain, they teach you to look backwards some as what you've accomplished, whether it's your skill sets or your activities. And it's a really good way to look at it and go, look what you've gained over time.
Yeah, no doubt. Totally agree. Everyone, make sure you buy this book. I did the audio book, but I bought it too, but I can't emphasize enough what a great use of your time it will be, and how it will help you elevate and just raise the tide on everything you do. Even if you are a natural optimist like I am, I feel like that is a real strength that I have. This is just going to make it stronger.
I guess I got to sign up. It's funny. I did the same thing to Don with Who Not How. I was like, dude, you have to read this. And he's like, oh, okay, I will. I'll put it on my list. I'm like, no, you have to read this right now.
and we're taking that to a whole heart, Dave. Unfortunately, you're busy this coming up week, as you always are, of course. But you see what we're trying to do with our momentum builder community is we're putting together a mastermind group. Some are on this call to help us improve the value proposition that we have for Mastermind, how to reach out to more people, how to engage them better, how to add more value, how to make the momentum builder event better, who we should have at the event, and so forth. We're putting together a mastermind group to help us improve. And there's nothing like community to do that. And Dave, we'll try to, I already even told you that we'll try to get you in, even if for an hour or two, just to bounce some ideas.
I'm going to try to be there. I'm going, and just so you know, I'm committed to speaking at a Fairway event in Seattle. Well, it's actually in Bellevue. And so that's, I thought I could fly in, fly out, but then when I looked at the whole agenda, I'd literally be coming in for a half a day of your event, and, I need to get home. I wouldn't have been able to be there much, but I'm sure I could call in for a period.
A little bit would be great.
Yeah. We have a couple of the speakers that are on tour that are calling in to give their input, and we just value your input, Dave, because you're absolutely one of the biggest givers in our industry. You're one of the biggest influencers, and you care about making a difference, and that's why we value your opinion. And Thank you for even giving us some time. Then we'll bounce some of the ideas up. We know we don't know everything about how to make this community the best it can be. You're always look at how many adjustments you've made over the years in your community, and it only gets better and better because you make those adjustments.
Absolutely. Well, I got one more idea I wanted to make sure
Please.
I kind of covered and pushed, and it's a trend I've seen for a long time now. But the idea of being real estate investors ourselves. I'm seeing so many top producers that own units, they own duplexes, triplexes, fix and flips, and I've interviewed recently two top producing loan officers that are next gen. They're both doing really good business. One of them is like, what was this kid's name? Let's see. So my next gen here, let me go right here. Actually, I need to create a playlist for, my next gen interviews. I'm trying to see here.
Well, I'll just speak to that, Dave, for a second. I truly believe in that. And like I said, I bought my first triplex when I was 22 years old. As you become a real estate investor, because you go through that scenario yourself, aside from owning your personal residence, and you are a landlord and you do manage the business, it gives you a unique way to help others succeed at doing that. And, investors do 5 times as many lifetime transactions as individuals do on their personal residences. So as a loan officer, it would behoove us to be investors ourselves so that we could empathize with other investors, so that we can understand the plight, have an intelligent conversation, and get 5 times as many transactions in our lifetime from every client. So the cost per lead goes down. So all those things make a lot of sense.
Yeah, like this young guy who I interviewed recently. By the way, I met him. I helped facilitate a mastermind at Churchill, and he was the #1 producer in the room. We had about 30 loan officers, no, maybe 20-ish, 25, I think it was the number. But he was #1. He's closed 20 loans last month, and I did this interview a month ago. He bought his first house at age 24. He was 27, and he owned 7 homes. And by the way, 80% of his business was first-time home buyers. So first of all, think about it. Do you want to compete with this guy? Like, he uses Mortgage Coach. He's delivered this amazing experience. He is a living example of someone that's, investing in real estate. Like, what is his conversion rate going to be? Because he's doing it himself. He's giving great advice. And I was just like, this guy's going to just continue to dominate and gain market share. And then, I had dinner with Josh Metal this week. I went and had dinner with Tim Brahim, Josh Metal, and a few other folks up in Malibu. And he's been investing in real estate for 20 years. Wally Elderberry, who I interviewed. So I just want to really push mortgage professionals. Like, there's an advice revolution happening in America, and technology is driving that to some extent, because whatever ChatGPT can automate, it's going to automate. But if you are an advisor, and if you practice what you preach, you invest in real estate, you are going to be someone extremely valuable, and people are going to want to do business with you for the next decade. Like you do not need to worry about technology. Now, by the way, technology is going to take out a lot of loan officers. It will reduce the headcount in our industry. But the loan officers at MasterTech, the loan officers that are building personal brands, by the way, where's this? I picked this up in the airport on the way home last week from a trip. Guys, this is the Harvard Business Review. And on the cover of Harvard Business Review, this whole month, it's the May and June issue, is about build a personal brand. So, like, guys, this is not just a good idea. This is a national trend. So if you do those things, like what Brian Hale said, the next 5 to 10 years, they're going to be insanely good.
We need to add a little reaction button here that's a mic drop.
Right.
We don't have that one, but we'll say it out loud. Man, look, I can't tell you that, real estate investment's been something that's been a driver for me my whole life, whether I was a realtor, whether I was a loan officer. What I've always been is a real estate investor. And you look at that guy that's dealing with first-time home buyers, his unique value proposition, his personal brand is, I'm going to help you do what I just did.
Yeah.
Boom. That's it. End of story. They are not price shopping him. They're not going anywhere else. They're looking for a mentor, and he's going to commit to doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Here was another one. Gentano. I actually met this young man a couple weeks ago. I was at I actually wasn't at an event, but I met this young guy, and he owns, again, he was a mortgage coach. So young man in Gaetano is his name, in Connecticut. He bought his first house at like, I don't know, 21 or 22. He's 27 now, killing it in the mortgage business, using mortgage coach. And he's talking about how he's doing it, why he's doing it. By the way, you guys will love how I just remember how I met him. I was on the beach in Huntington Beach. Neil was having one of his events, and I was walking with another mortgage coach, and this Gaetano guy saw me. He's like, "You're Mr. Mortgage Coach guy. I use Mortgage Coach, but do you want to compete with that guy? He's using Mortgage Coach. He's delivering advice, and he's building wealth with real estate. Like, what a formula for financial freedom and success in this industry."
Well, I just took a note down of a social slide that I want to make now based on investing young in real estate. And when I have that, Dave, I'll share it back with you, because you got the idea rolling. So,
by the way, that could be a really interesting session or panel at your next event, where you really focus on people that are in mortgage, how they're investing in real estate and building wealth in real estate. I think that would be
you already added value for 2024, baby. So we do have the date. We do have to wrap this up, Dave. I could talk to you for days.
Take care, guys.
You guys always add value, and appreciate you being part of our community and part of our lives, Dave. You're just one of the coolest and best dudes there is. I'll reach out to you regarding next week's mastermind, try to get your